into this year. I now have the opportunity to share just a few thoughts with you. And the first thing that I will tell you is I am extremely honored to be here. I marvel at the opportunity to be here to serve in this community. I'm excited about it. It truly is an opportunity personally to me and an honor primarily to have the opportunity to get to know all of you. It's exciting, the networking that happens and the people that I get to meet. So I'm very privileged to be here and be able to share with you this upcoming year. And I'll tell you, as you have heard a little bit from Danny and you've heard a little bit from Michael, this is a new day at the Chamber. It's a new day not only for the Chamber, but it's a new day for Catawba County. And when I say Chamber, I'm referring to every one of you that's sitting here in this room, and you are part of a missing link to a process that you're going to hear about shortly that's going to craft a new future for us in Catawba County. That future will be based on innovation. There's a real sense of urgency like we have not seen before in our business community for the businesses to step up, link up, and take ownership of this community transformation process. And I think we're all ready for that to happen. Change is something that is now the norm. It's not different anymore. It is now the norm. And it requires community resilience and community responsiveness. My question for you to ponder is, are you ready to answer this call and be the missing link that we need to successfully transform our community to a better future? I hope that you are. I hope that everyone sitting in this room is ready to do that. I will tell you that your new board is very energized and excited about the years ahead and the opportunities to help lead in this effort. The faces that you see this year in the boardroom have shifted demographically, and that's on purpose, as we emerge our young professionals into a major priority for us going forward. And that's not just an opportunity and a priority for us. I also want to take this moment to thank Tom Lundy, who is our Catawba County manager, who called the Chamber and reserved 2 corporate tables for members of the Chamber's Hickory Young Professionals and the Hickory JCs to send a clear message that this presentation today and our challenges to complete it cannot happen without those groups. They own this plan, their name is on it. They will be leading as the lead responsibility organizations in several areas. So watch out, Catawba County, for these young people. This group doesn't run from change, they invent change. And I would like for any of the Hickory Young Professionals and JCs that are here in the room to please stand and be recognized. Let us recognize. Any other young professionals that we want to say? We welcome you, and we know that you are our future leaders going forward, so we thank you for your involvement in that presentation. We've already heard from Michael about the innovative new changes that the Chamber has successfully undertaken in 2012, and there were really a lot of them. I will make sure that those efforts continue and that those bids continue to grow and increase the value and the return on the investment that you have made in your chamber. I'm also really committed to helping transform this organization from valuable to an everyday essential for you. I think that there is an important paradigm shift that is beginning to happen and that needs to happen, and that's that we not only view the chamber as a critical entity that positively impacts each of our businesses, but we need to view it as our vehicle to become a truly collaborative business community, and together we'll be able to lead our county to achieve the potential and the successes that it is capable of. So this is a two-way street. The Chamber serves you, and we serve our community by partnering with it. So rest assured that all of the normal programming and services and things you've become accustomed to, as well as the new things that Michael mentioned, all those advanced benefits, those will continue and will continue to get better. But it's a new day for us today, and we have a lot of work to do. So I hope you will step up and join us. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to bring forward to you someone who has been very instrumental in all of the planning and the successes that have occurred in our community up to this point, and that is Scott Barr, who is president of the Catawba County Economic Development Corporation, and he is going to introduce our competitive plan. Scott, you're welcome.
Thank you, Sherry. It really is neat to see the room full of energized and interested people that are all coming together to try and figure out how to keep this train moving that we call Catawba County. Really is interesting over the past year the way this community has come together and coalesced. I too would like to thank all the people that Michael recognized for the support of the development process that we've been going through. Really has enlightened me and other leaders as we try and have figured out what, if you think back on the slides that Michael had, there was that one shot of an elephant with hair on it. Remember that guy? What I referred to as we talked about this economic transformation plan was every group doing their own thing and trying to kill the same animal. Now I know that may be a bit graphic, but I use the term woolly mammoth as the sort of unifying thread. If everybody here approaches trying to kill that animal by themselves, they're not going to be able to do it. But if everybody in this room throws the spear at that, I'm using an old, dead, extinct animal here, not but so the extinct woolly mammoth, we try and bring that thing down, all doing what we can do from our individual viewpoint, we're going to be a whole lot more successful. And that was sort of the idea behind developing this plan over the last year. I'm very proud of where we have gotten to in our process, and I'm proud to introduce to you today Ted Abernathy of the Southern Growth Policies Board, which is an organization out of Research Triangle Park that helps governors, states, and other organizations throughout the southeastern United States, but also provides counsel to other states around the United States. On economic competitiveness issues, workforce issues, and others. And he gets to hang out with governors. He just got back from a lengthy trip where he took all the photographs that were used in Michael's slide. And he's really a well-known, well-respected guy, and he's been a lot of fun to work with during this process. I'm very excited about where we're going, and I look forward to you all gaining insight into that and joining us in this movement. Ted?
So if you feel sorry for me if I get to hang out with governors, or do you feel good about it? Today I get to leave here and drive to South Carolina. I grew up right on the border, and so driving to South Carolina used to be something I would joke about. I don't do it anymore since I get to work in South Carolina. But tomorrow I'll be talking with groups on how they do manufacturing around carbon fibers and magnesium. So y'all highlighted my week, so I'm glad to be here today. So I'd like to ask everybody in the room to stand up. Go ahead. Up. So if you currently chair a local group, civic group, church group, business group, whatever, sit down. If you have, or you are, or have been on the board of a local group in the last 3 years, sit down. If in the last 10 years you chaired the Chamber of Commerce or the Economic Development Commission or were an elected official, sit down. Everybody standing up. Fill out your forms to volunteer right now. I'm not joking. Scott was kidding. I just got back actually from a vacation of hiking for 2.5 weeks in New Zealand. One of the places I went was Stewart Island, New Zealand. It's the island that's off the far end of the south of New Zealand. The population of the island is 302 people. There are 320 of They manage to get things done. If you have 320 leaders in this community, you ought to be able to get a few things done. I'm serious about volunteering. Y'all are the leadership. This isn't, I mean, you didn't come for the food, right? Food was good, but you can go to KW, you go to the point. This is about leading this community. And as Scott said, it's about transforming it through innovation. And innovation is not a magic formula. Innovation can be described in a lot of ways, but innovation is something, if you're a company, you do to be competitive or to make more money or do other things. If you're a community, you do it if you're really smart for those things, but mostly you do it because you have to. There's a great question, and we've been meeting with some of the new Traversal Transition team and now the new leadership of the governor's office in North Carolina. And the general question that a lot of people ask is, why is it harder for North Carolina to compete today than it was just a few years ago? North Carolina was really top of the heap and winning a lot. Not that long ago, you remember this? So what happened? Well, what happened is the world changed. Since 2000, almost the entire process of being competitive as a community has shifted on us. The economy has changed. I'm not going to throw a whole bunch of slides up with numbers today, but some of you have seen me do numbers before. In the last 12 years, since 2000, since the millennium, how many of you just sort of remember the Y2K thing? It's pretty it's right. That was 13 years ago. But in that 13 years, and if I fall off the stage today, it's jet lag, so don't worry about it. In that 13 years, North Carolina lost 43% of their manufacturing jobs. We don't look, by the way, so did Georgia, so did Tennessee, so did all sorts of places. We lost a quarter of our agriculture jobs. We lost 18% of our information technology jobs. We lost it, we got to go. At the same time, we added health jobs went up 33%. Education jobs went up 35%. Business and professional services jobs went up by a third. The entire economy of the state transitioned on us while we were watching a recession or two come along. And we wake up one day and we're not fighting the same fight. We're not fighting against the same people. Competition. And we talked about globalization 20 years ago. But honestly, today, companies go everywhere. How many people in the room do business, sell products, have suppliers that are international? Raise your hand. Watch this one. How many of you have been out of the country in the last 5 years? If I had done that 10 years ago, how many hands would have gone up? The world changed. The locational factors changed. We talked about this in our committee. It used to be that Duke Energy had to worry about what the energy cost and was there enough of it. And now it's reliability. We used to talk about four-lane highways, and now we talk about where the flights go. The workforce has changed. Your offices, when you look around, the people working there have shifted. They look different. They're young, hopefully. They're multiracial. They have different perspectives. The talent demands have changed. The skills we need today. If you haven't learned a new skill in the last 13 years, then mostly you're obsolete. I hope you're in charge. Our life cycles have even changed. I've got two 20-something-year-olds in my family, a 25-year-old son, a 23-year-old daughter. They want to work for 5 or 7 years, and they want to take a year off and do something. And then they want to start working again. They want to take a year off and do something. And then I have 70-year-old friends who are thinking about their second careers. I'm like, what happened to retirement? And they go, hey, retirement. Here's what I'm going to open this restaurant. And you go, well, wait a minute, what happened? The world shifted on us. The tools we use have changed. The customer demands have changed. The pace of change has changed. And then finally, and I think the biggest surprise, and we're talking about this a lot in the next few minutes, the leadership that used to be so important and is now more important in communities changed. Who it is that influences communities is different than it used to be. And so, if you accept, and how many people in the room believe most of what I just said? Most of them. Okay. So how in the world can we compete the same way we used to compete? If everything around us shifted. So when we come to a community, we we start thinking about the world in a new context. And the hard part, and I'm going to share some of this with you today, the hardest part in any community we go to is trying to help them understand where they currently are. Because this process is about understanding where you currently are, and then strategically trying to figure out what you need to do to get to where you want to be. And so I'm going to share with you this morning a little bit about where you are collectively as we discuss this, where the group wants to be, and see how y'all feel about that, and then a little bit about the strategies to get you there. A good action plan answers a bunch of questions. By the time we're finished with this plan, and I'm going to tell you a bunch about it today, but I will tell you that our group doesn't believe in writing plans and giving it to a community. We wrote a fairly detailed plan, we gave it to the leadership group, and we said, now y'all figure out which of these things you can do and which you will do, and that's part of what you've got in front of you. Because if you're not going to do it, it shouldn't be part of your plan. So we're now in the how do you get it done part before we lock the plan down. So the goal is to figure out exactly how things are. There are 4 overriding economic things about this community. We have dozens and dozens of slides, but not all I'm going to show you, but there's 4 things that dominate your current economic reality, and they're not good. And so this is not a downer moment, so this is the reality that you're looking at. The first is that you've been shrinking. There's been negative growth in terms of labor force and employment since 2000. This is what the charts look like. The labor force is in the yellow, the employment is the labor force is in the green, the employment's in the yellow. You can see that you've been contracting. America and most of your business models are built on expansion, and you've been contracting. If you look at jobs in the county, you grew from 1990 to 2000, and you have lost net jobs since 2000. The jobs, you're a hub, you're a regional hub for commerce and healthcare and others. So your overall jobs per person living in your community in 2000 was 1.27. You had an extra quarter job for every person here. It's now down to 1.07. And that's still pretty healthy, actually. It means that there are more jobs in Catawba County than there are people in Catawba County who are in the workforce. So you're still importing labor, and that's a pretty good place to be, but you've had a serious drop. We'll talk about mindset. You're not alone. In that same period of time, there were 18 counties in North Carolina who lost about 20% of their jobs. This is because the economy shifted so much on you. You had a time where things just shifted. And so this is why you need to do things a little differently. This is you can't read the bottom. These are all the metro areas in North Carolina. In the last 2 years, you started making a comeback. You stabilized. There hasn't been job losses in the last 2 years. There's been job gains. They haven't been huge, but they haven't been huge anywhere. We added 2 million jobs in the United States last year. We're still 9 million short of where we need to be. So it's going to take a while to get back. And you started on the way back. You've seen the new announcements. You've seen some things happening. But when you get hit hard, it takes a while to get that back. The second thing is that right now, the newest data for population growth are slow for the next 20 years. Overall, about 8% growth projection for the next 20 years. I will tell you, the projections are notoriously wrong. Demographers use the past to project the future. So what you're seeing is a projection of what has happened recently. It's possible to change that, but right now, it's assumed that this community won't grow very fast. And the scariest part of it is that where you will grow is in people over the age of 65. Your percentages of people that are older go up dramatically compared to the people who are working age. So that means you're going to have labor issues, you're going to have some other issues, unless some things are done. Third is the job losses in manufacturing have been particularly high. Y'all know this. But here's a chart for you that aggregates the textile manufacturing groups in your community, the electronics groups, and the furniture groups. That's what happened in 12 years. You look very similar to the rest of North Carolina, and the rest of Georgia, and the rest of Tennessee, all the other manufacturing states in the South. But manufacturing losses were significant. And manufacturing ripples through society. And then the fourth thing is, and this is one of the things we talked about very early with our group, is that the Hickory MSA, which includes a little more than Catawba County, but the 25 to 34-year-olds, you had big losses, young people moving out. And those big losses ripple back through the economy in all sorts of ways because, and we know the problem. Manufacturing has quickly gone to the chicken and the egg. Well, there are jobs, so they left. We know that. You're also running against an urbanization trend that's national and international of younger people moving into higher, bigger, more dense areas. So you have to compete. You have to make this place better and more attractive to those young people, or that's going to have a long-term impact. So those are the 4 overall economic things that were dictating the demand to do something. We asked the group continuously, what is it, where do you want to be in the future? And a growing place with more jobs was the generic. But there were a series of things that will be part of the plan. More skilled and better educated workforce, more connectivity between students and work, more 25 to 44-year-olds who want to live and work in Catawba County, and a whole series of things that are part of where is it that you want to be in the future. So the actions that are designed are to try to meet those visions of where this community needs to be to be successful in the future. One of the other things we do when we become a community, have you participated in some of our focus groups? There are about 300 of you, so a bunch of you here. So let me tell you, when we listened to all the focus groups, when we came back, we had a few observations that we wanted to tell the leadership committee. And the first was that it is amazing how many good things are going on in this community. And I'm not blowing smoke at you, obviously, since I just gave you all the economic stuff. This isn't, you have done more good things in the last few years to react than I think any community we've been in. There's a list, Scott, I don't know how many you wrote down the first time we started going through this stuff, all the entrepreneurial things and the business parks and you've laid a foundation that is tremendous for a lot of good things to happen. And you've seen in the last couple of years some good things start to happen from that. So you're not starting from scratch. You need to build on the things you've already started doing. And you've started doing a bunch of them. A whole bunch of them are funded. And they're taking place, and it's not all new resources. So that was really good. A lot of communities we go into are dead stop. And you aren't. You're doing a lot of things. The second is that storytelling in this community is a ridiculously bad thing. Y'all are terrible at talking about your community. You're terrible at it. If I spent 10 years as executive vice president of the Research Triangle, as a partnership there. If people ask anybody sort of around the business community there, tell me about the Research Triangle, and they say, well, there's 3 universities in the Research Triangle. If I go out to Eatonton and ask them, they tell me about Mill Village. If I go to, there are communities that have stories to tell. They talk about their community. They may tell you the bad things. Oh, and traffic is terrible, or whatever. But they tell stories about their community. They tell good things. And when we ask you to talk about your community here, we got 2 types of answers. One is the things used to be, once upon a time story. Which I will tell you, the once upon a time story never works for the future. Never. And the other one was this depressing story of woe is me. Or as my mother would say, you described a pity party to me. You didn't talk about it. And the trick is there's a bunch of good things going on, but you don't talk about them. And I don't know if it's because you don't know about them, and it's a communication breakdown, or it's a leadership connectivity breakdown. But there are enough good things going on in the community that when someone asks you about your place, and by the way, there's great pride here. It was funny when we had, Danny, 70 of the young professionals, and some of your young professionals were in their focus groups. You came and talked to them more than I've ever seen in Danny's boardroom. Ridiculous amount of food with people texting all the time. It's great. It's great. It's okay. I've got one in my pocket. It's buzzed 3 times since I've been up here, so it's good. But we asked that, they're proud of their community. The lake's pretty and the stuff going on there. But when you ask people to talk about it, it doesn't come together. So y'all got to do a better job of storytelling. And part of that is, it's not the elevator speech, it's actually talking about, I tell people that you should pretend that the brother-in-law you don't like is coming to visit you for the first time. And you have to take him around your community and brag on it. Because he doesn't know why you got his sister here. Think about that. What would you do with your brother-in-law tomorrow, and how would you show off this community, and then describe the weekend? Start talking about this community. The third thing is that your local leadership has been hit hard with the transition of the economy. Some of your leaders have aged. Some of them companies have left. I'm not saying there's not a leadership void. There's a lot of people here who would try to lead. But your leadership was impacted pretty hard. And when we ask the question of who are the two go-to people in the community, the exact question is, how do you get things done? We got a lot of confusion on how do you get things done in the community. Now, y'all think about that. If you know the answer to how would you get something done, you tell Danny, you tell Scott, you tell Tom. But the question is, how do you reinforce that leadership? How do you get new people? Some of you, how many people in the room when I said if you chaired a board, went, God, chaired everything? Right, there's a few hands here. Bless you, but you're not the people we're talking to. Lead some more. We need the sage leadership, people who've been doing it. But we need leaders in the community who will step forward and get things done. And then finally, people are looking for a shortcut. Me too. I love one. What's the one thing we ought to do? And what we told everybody is there is no one thing to reinvent an economy. We can deep sea fish forever for that elusive car dealer, car manufacturer who might show up. But there hadn't been one in a few years, and the odds of it coming here are 1 in a million. If that's what you want to do, y'all can fish for that. But the truth is, it's a lot of little things and a lot of hard work. The concept that we keep hammering here is the concept of collective impact. There's been a lot of research done on how do you get things done in a community, and the answer is it's a group of important actors from different sectors working together on a common agenda. And so the goal is to have that common agenda here. Collective success works when you have an agenda, when you know how to measure it, when you have activities that are connected and reinforce each other, when there's a lot of communication, and when there's some support organizations that pull all this together. They don't have to be one, they have to be a group that pull these things together. When we do collaboration models, people don't always get along. Anybody here notice that? And I work with government officials a lot, and I work with a whole bunch of things. And we've learned a few things about collaboration. People and organizations collaborate when it's in their interest to collaborate. So you have to look for the interest. If it doesn't help you, then you're not going to do it. So when people come to you tomorrow and say, we want you to lead, they're going to have to know what it's in it for you too. But they do that only when it's in their interest. People collaborate when success is possible. I will tell you this, there are places that we go that we say, you need to worry about how you're going to shrink better, because you're not going to grow. And that's a lot of the rural South looks like that right now. You're not one of those places. You have assets and you have the ability to grow and be successful here. So your leadership has to believe that. Where you stand depends on where you sit. It's an old adage, but one that works in everything, and people collaborate based on where they sit. People collaborate if there is a chance for success, as I said, and then if they have something to do. And that's what we've been working on, is what is it that people are going to have a chance to do. This is a bad design here. When I shared with them, what I found in the community was that you've got a lot of people. By the way, this community collaborates well. You don't have to fight particularly. Lots of communities fight all the time. Your leadership here is committed to working together. But one of the things we found is that everybody's off working as hard as they can work, and there's not enough connectivity between them. They're not directed in the right direction. So that's the goal of trying to get things done here. What's the plan going to say? As I said before, we don't have the plan finished because it's back in the hands of the leadership to figure out exactly what the resources and who's working on it will be together. They've got about 2 months to do that, pull together. But it's around 6 areas, and I'm going to share those with you. One is building consciously more leadership, whether that's young leadership, whether it's diverse leadership, whether it's new, whether it's having current leaders be more effective. But there are leadership programs as part of the plan to move forward. Part of it's around building. If you want to attract jobs, you need the buildings and the sites to allow you to do that. You don't have them all. You don't have enough in the ante. A person looking for certain, especially larger size buildings, can't find them in Catawba County right now. And if you don't direct actions to fix that, you will not win as many times as you could. And jobs, overall, jobs is the number one thing of this plan. You have to add jobs. It'll fix some of the other issues if you start adding jobs back. You've got to have the ante in buildings and sites, and that's going to take something innovative. And if there are real estate developers in the room who want to just go out and start building them and bypass all of this, let us know. It's fine. But right now the market hasn't reflected the demand side of the market. You have to deal with that. There's a reinventing that has to take place among both the businesses that are happening here, but also among the places. This is not the same old, same old. So when you look at, by the way, when I'm talking about this, you've got these sitting in front of you, and when you're talking about trying to be part of this, people want you to volunteer. You've got, what's the magic number? 800, 400, some huge number of buildings that are vacant. Most of them are not in the demand right now for that type of building. But, who's got $1 billion to tear it all down? It's about reinventing the way you think about doing those. There's a lot of demand and a lot of actions that need to take place around entrepreneurship. Big business is not going to be the solution to all your problems. And even if you're a large-sized business in this community, you need the support services and the supply chains of small businesses to make you successful. And so there's a series of entrepreneurial things that include everything from capital to direct assistance. Danny talked about the work they've been doing with SBTDC to provide direct assistance to members. That's important. Workforce is probably the hardest one to talk about because everybody wants to talk about it. There's a lot of argument in the country about whether there's a mismatch between skills and not skills. How many people, most of your business people, how many of you find it easy to find people with the skills that you need? Look around the room. So if you're unemployed in the room, you don't have to raise your hand, but my bet is you find it hard to find a match too. How many of you have a high school student or a college student at home and you just wish you knew what to tell them to be trained in, right? This is not about reinventing the workforce system. That's not what we think this group can do. This is about building bigger and better connectivity between the workforce pipeline in the high schools and in college and community college back to employers. Specific programs so that the people that are looking to know what it is they need to be trained in have exposure, whether that's mentoring programs or other things. And it's also about you having the ability to be able to direct the curriculum ideas of what it is that you need from workforce people. This is the business community stepping in as the user of the product, helping design it. You're going to hear a ton from the new administration. Governor McCrory is big on this issue. And it's going to be, it's like all things that are done at state levels today, it's going to be somewhat controversial. But his position is that we have to find a way for our education systems to be producing the type of skills in people that will allow them to be successful in the workplace. Sounds pretty good, right? Details are hard. So I'm not taking a side on the details, but the fact is you need people in the community that have the skills you need. And those parents and then kids and graduates need to have skills that allow them to do what they want to in life. If what they want to do in life is hike Europe for the rest of the time, and you want to fund them, then teach them how to tie hiking boots. But if they need to work in your companies, they're going to need a whole set of skills. And that's what the workforce stuff is. And then the last bucket is inspiring. We've got to tell stories again that are inspiring people about the community, but we also have to have inspiring places. And I know that town of Hickory is working, the city of Hickory is working on specific things, but this is that and more. This is about what does a 32-year-old need, young professional need, to want to be here? How do you inspire them to want to make this their home, to want to start their business here? How do you inspire a young entrepreneur? What is it that they want? And I will tell you, 320 people in the room, there's 320 answers to that question. This is the old issue of how quality of life is measured. Because quality of life is, my quality of life and Danny's quality of life are determined by different factors. His birdie on the 17th hole gives him quality of life. For me, it might be that hiking trail. So it's different. But the quality of place has to be important to a community because you can't just be nothing interesting to anybody. You've got to have a place where people are proud of and want to be. When someone drives through, they care. When someone comes here and Scott's showing them around, there's a building that fits them, there's a workforce that fits them, there's leadership that talks about the community, and there's attitude and inspiration that comes from the community. And there are some specific things you can do, a series of recommendations that will get you there. Now, the other part of this, there's 6 buckets, but there are only going to be 15 to 20 action items. Lots of plans fail for lots of reasons. I shared those with the leadership group. But one of the main reasons is they decide they're going to do 100 things, and they have enough resources to do 9. And so they end up doing none. And so what we're trying to do here is narrow this down. That's why you're asking for your volunteer here, is to figure out what can you fund? What can you do? And it would be nice to be able to do that and change all of this. You can't. This is hard work. It's step by step. We want as many people to volunteer over the next couple of months to be part of this decision-making process as possible. And then at the end of that time, we'll release a written document that says this is what we're going to do over this period of time. This is who's going to do it, and this is how it's going to be resourced. But it's important to get you engaged in that process. Now, Sherry, one of the hardest things for next year, and John, y'all got to find a way to get the business leadership more engaged in this community. And we had great response and great cooperation from our elected officials. We had elected officials at all the meetings, they did focus groups and all of that. But everybody we talked to said this needs to be business-led. Now that's easy to say, right? Business-led. How many of you have an extra 20 hours a week you'd like to donate? This is hard. Is there anybody in the room who thinks that you ought to just give up? That's a serious question some communities have. And what will be, will be. Now, your top challenge in the next few years is to get this chamber and this group of business leaders, and the ones that aren't here today, to come to the table and lead. And lead means say, here are the choices we need to make in our community in order to move forward. Here's how much resources we're going to put into it. Here's how much resources we need from the public sector, the philanthropic sector, the civic sector. For all the young professionals in the room, demand to let you be part of it. Demand it. Walk up to the table and lead. Y'all said it's hard to figure out how to get things done. It's how you do it. You roll up your sleeves and you do it. It's how the people who were 70-something in the room got it done many years ago. Those are the issues that are the biggest problems for this community, is how do you get them together? What's the missing link? The missing link is business leadership taking hold of this. Doing the 10, 15, 20 things that need to be done in partnership. I mean, if you look at what drives locational decisions for the prospects that Scott has in the room, much of them have to do with government funding. I mean, they have to do with infrastructure, they have to do with the education of kids, they have to do with things that the government's part of. So this isn't by yourself. This is in partnership. But you've got to find a way to lead back in. It's the only way to keep going. Last thing I want to say is that it's been an interesting community to work in. We've been doing this for about a year in this community, and I don't believe I've seen an above-the-table massive argument since I've been here. And I can't think of another community where I haven't had one in the first 2 meetings. Y'all are nice. You just are, you're nice. You know, and I said this to the group, so I'll say it to y'all. Your niceness extends to, well, I'll let them do their thing and I'll go do my thing. And we'll both do it well. It's not enough. You got to do it together. You do. There's a synergy that happens when you do it together, and you've got to move that forward. This is transforming through innovation. How many of you are changing things, or have in the last few years changed the way you do your business at work? Like everybody. So how do you do things different in the community? Get out of your box and start thinking that way. What we're going to do, we're going to get you signed up and get this. These 6 groups are going to be over the next 2 months, and then we'll put a final touch on this plan and release it to the community. It's one of those things that gets updated all the time. And it's not one of these. We don't believe in those. It's one of those, which says go forward and do that. This summer, there'll be a lot of people starting to work on a lot of things, and you need to support the leaders in the group. We all know why people don't want to lead anymore. It's because we like beating up leaders. It's a sport, right? Y'all are going to do it tomorrow. Somebody in this room is going to beat up some leader tomorrow. And that's, it's okay to express your own opinion. You don't agree on everything. I get that. But in this community, you're going to have to work together as groups to get that done. The niceness of the community is a great asset. Because, mostly you really do like each other to do that. But it's also a source for just being able to be nice and not face things. And so what we want you to do is focus more specifically around those 6 areas. Around entrepreneurship, around reinventing spaces, around building new antiques for those businesses, workforce inspiration, and leadership. If you could, I have picture visions too, Michael, so I didn't put you up here. If I'd known I was going to be a squirrel, I might have. But,
that wasn't really you.
Okay, thank you. That squirrel's a little thin. Jobs. That's the focus. Don't lose that. That's the key. The bar keeps rising. You are competing against everybody for everything. For every job, for every ounce of capital, for every young professional, for every talented person. It doesn't go down. It never will again. It's going up. In your schools, in your community college, at the college, you're building the minds of the future. Use them. Engage those college students. Engage those high school students. Again, leadership before everything else. And then finally, so anybody over the age of 40 know Optimus Prime? Okay. So the first Transformers movie was good. The last 2, Optimus Prime changes based on what he needs to change to react to the next situation. This is a transformation of this community. Now, tomorrow, if you go back and you keep thinking, well, in 1993 we did it this way, then you're not going to be successful. But if you can figure out how to transform your institutions, your goals, as you go forward, then you'll get there. And like I said, 15 or so, 15 to 18 specific things to do, with a lot of people who've already said they were going to help to do that. I hope y'all are some of them. So thank you very much.
Good, thank you very much. Did you get the message? You look around this room and you worry about leadership. Leadership sitting in this room and they came out. Couldn't call it fun. And I hope that you'll remember that and to give you an opportunity to share in these 6 areas. We just touched on them from a standpoint. They're incredible stories and incredible activities and ideas that we want to share with you under each of these areas. The sheet that's on your table will give you an opportunity to do that. Your name and email is all we need. Find one of those 6 areas that interest you or more. We will have a small team made up of folks that are going to be reporting back to our leadership team, but we need an advisory group. I don't care whether there's 30 or 40 in the room for each one. We need an advisory group that we can bounce ideas off of you and listen to you and get your input on these areas. So please do that and leave these at your table, and we'll pick them up when you leave. And I hope to get a stack full of these sheets. Now, I go back to leadership again, and I go back to something that before we got involved in this, I did not know it was that big of an issue. So, in order to try something early on to generate a success story based on what we have heard, there's no business community leadership award that's really given for someone who has done incredible things in this community. The Chamber has always recognized companies, but we thought this year would be an opportunity for an inaugural community leadership award that we would present to a wonderful community leader. And extend this to where when you ask the question, who would you go to get things done, or who are the community leaders, that we will begin a list of wonderful people that we can recognize and go to and celebrate their successes. And we want to do that today. So the first inaugural Community Leadership Award, I've got the pleasure of presenting and would like to share with you a little bit of information. 20 years ago, as an All-Southern Conference honorable mention All-American baseball player. He was a highly recruited outfielder slated to be a high draft selection by the Milwaukee Brewers. Prior to his senior year in the Major League draft, he had athletic dreams and goals evaporated in an instant when he suffered a catastrophic thumb injury necessitating major reconstruction of his thumb and hand. Rather than sulk or lower his professional aspirations, he pivoted and directed all of his major league talents, energy, discipline, and commitment to teamwork toward higher education and serving students. In doing so, he followed a path blazed by his parents who worked at Surrey Community College for a combined total of over 60 years. As a result, students, employees, regional and local workforce stakeholders, North Carolinians received the superlative value of Dr. Garrett Henshaw's President of the Year caliber leadership every single day. Dr. Henshaw became the third president of the 53-year-old Catawba Valley Community College on August 1st, 2006. At age 39, fulfilling his dream that he wanted to become a community college president by 40. I asked the CBCC staff, give me some recommendations and things that you're so proud of that he's done, and I want to give you a quick top 10 list. Number one, outstanding accomplishments in leading the institution in workforce education and economic development. CBCC has been instrumental in not only recruiting, but screening and training employees for new companies such as Apple, Fiserv, Google, Target Distribution, Convergys, TurboTech Products, and existing companies like ZF Limport, Prismium Group, Piedmont Fiberglass, Hickory Chair. Last year alone, 1,400 jobs were announced, and CBC's Workforce Development Innovation Center helped customize programming and training programs for these companies. Transformation of CBCC's Hosiery Technology Center into the Manufacturing Solutions Center. Provided solutions for such companies as Nike, Lands' End, Target, New Balance. Listen to this. In 46 states and countries, on 6 continents, come to Hanover to get help at the Manufacturing Solutions. Evolution of the Hickory Metro Higher Ed Center to the ASU Center at Hickory. Development of the North Carolina Center for Engineering Technologies. Construction of a regional simulated hospital for healthcare education. Governor Perdue called it absolutely the most 21st century cutting-edge training in the state of North Carolina. Number 2, strong commitment to expansion and improvement of services through technology and other innovations being integrated into the campus community. In 2011, Republic Center for Digital Education and Converge Online named CVCC fourth in the U.S. in its Digital Community Colleges Survey, the only North Carolina community colleges selected. Number 3, commitment to and effective use of partnerships with business and industry, public schools, and other community college and four-year institutions. Number 4, demonstrates commitments to professional growth for faculty, staff, as well as personnel by creating and leading the development of the Linda Phillips Leadership Institute at CVCC. 5, promotes and demonstrates commitment to appropriate representation of diverse college and community populations in the work of the college. He established the first Office of Multicultural Affairs in North Carolina Community College System. 6, sufficient advocacy for the institution and the community college system at the local and state level. At the North Carolina Community College level, Dr. Henshaw serves as chair of the Curriculum Program Application Review Committee, member of the Innovation Ideas Committee, chair of the NAACP Legislative Committee, co-chair of the Joint Legislative Planning Committee. And in here, he's been past chairman of this chamber, past chair of the Economic Development Board, the United Way Board, the ASU Center of Hickory, the CVCC Alexander Center Advisory Board, and the YF. 7, contributions of time and expertise to community, regional, and national organizations as a motivational speaker concerning the value of education and educational leadership. 8, effective leadership in supporting and carrying out long-range planning and goal setting for the college. He developed the first ever 5-year strategic plan for the college. Created the first Office of Accountability, Efficiency, and Effectiveness. 9, innovation in program development and implementation, which becomes a model for the community college system, or which needs a unique community brand. And I've just said the Simulated Hospital and the Manufacturing Solutions Center are nothing like it. And number 10, overcoming human resources and financial barriers and improving the delivery of services in relation to the size of the institution. He increased faculty salaries from 37 in 08 and 09 to 5th in 2011 and 12 among the 58 colleges. He was recently secured the 2 largest donations in CVCC's 53-year history. The Chamber created Champions of Education in 2006, which later led to Education Matters, which became so big that we needed another home that can accommodate it, and guess who stepped up? CVCC, Dr. Henshaw, and what an incredible growth that they have done and what they have been to this community. We would not be sitting in this room, and we would not have hired Ted, and we would not have done a strategic plan if Dr. Henshaw had not called me 3 years ago and said, we're going to St. Petersburg College, and we're going to see their collaborative labs. And they have an ability to do strategic planning for organizations, government officials from all over the world to come there to build a strategic plan using incredible technology, facilitation, and we demonstrated it for us and saw us. He came back and packed up all of that technology, their people, shipped them up to North Carolina. And we started this process 3 years ago at CVCC with 50 leaders, a lot in this room, for our first look at what a strategic plan might look at and what the priorities might be. From there, he hosted the Joint Chamber EDC Board meeting to begin to continue that process. And that is what led us to bringing Ted here in January of 2012 to show you what collaboration for economic planning and community means. And now he is partnering with the Chamber, and we are producing a series of workforce videos and a workforce manufacturing video for Catawba County to help in job creation. And last but not least, now let me tell you, this Kauffman Foundation designation that was just awarded to CVCC to only 3 community colleges in the country. The entrepreneurial landscape is going to change in Catawba County forever. And on a 2-hour conference call this week for them to describe what is going to happen, I just have got chills to be able to wish I could tell you more about what's in this community. Incredible amounts of money to start high-growth startup technology companies. And it will be a larger area than just here, but he didn't even apply. And they called because they came here, they saw the Manufacturing Solutions Center and could not believe it. And the other communities that applied, like Wade Tech, they filled out applications. We were the only ones that didn't. And they called up and said, we can't bypass what you're doing. You have got to become one of these 3 pilot programs in this country. So I can't wait for you to hear more about that when we get more information. My friend, lastly, your baseball career ended, and I bet you were hoping, and I know you were during your career, that you would be in that Hall of Fame of baseball. But you are a gift to this community. Your Hall of Fame will be in this community and in the Leadership Hall of Fame in this country, but in a Hall of Fame where the world's going.
I can tell you, this is such an honor, and I am humbled to be here because 6.5 years ago, I walked onto the campus of Catawba Valley Community College, and the trustees, Mr. Snipes and the trustees, they just had something in their eye that was attractive to me. I got on the campus and I started working with some of the great faculty and staff there and working with the students. I said, you know, this place is special. Then we got into the community, and it became very evident this community was special. And we're going to prove that we're special through the initiatives that you've heard about today. But it's about ICE. It's about identifying opportunities, committing to those opportunities, and executing what's necessary. And my wife takes care of me. She's back here today. Beth, if you would please say You know, when I walked onto the campus, some people said I was crazy. I've been called just out there, outside the box, a lot of different things, some not so pleasant, but I probably should have said here today. But the number one thing that I take great pride in is they call me disruptive, because I do disrupt. And I think that's what this community has to do now. And each and every one of you have an opportunity to disrupt this thing. Not be satisfied with the status quo of what's happened to us, but what we can be. We have the ability to write the future. And I just thank this community for embracing me and my family. And I look forward to tomorrow and what we're going to do. But I do understand now why I'm so tired after Dan went through that whole thing. Thank you, Catawba County.
So you honor us by being here. We appreciate it very, very much. Again, thank our investors, thank staff again. And remember to fill out your sheets and leave them on the table for us. And have a wonderful day and help us grow Catawba County. Thank you.
See you, Tim. Good to see you. Yeah, take care. Enjoy getting together and talk. Yeah, I'd like to do that.